19,000 palm prints tested, no match found. In 1967, an elderly woman was attacked in her own home. Cases directly connected to murder are never really closed until they're actually solved. There's no statute of limitation, so even if they don't find the killer for 100 years, when they find him or her, they will be charged, and if possible, they will be imprisoned. Welcome back to the Global Village. Today, we will discuss the oldest convicted killer in the UK. Ryland Heatley, a man convicted of rape and murder of several different women, was actually convicted at the age of 92 of the rape and murder of Miss Louisa Doone. At the time, Miss Louisa lived in Suffolk. She was strangled and raped at the age of 75 in her own home. The police interviewed and tested more than 19,000 men with no positive result. So the case became cold, which meant it was no longer actively investigated. Typically, when I hear about murder cases closing without finding the culprit, it makes me think more could have been done. But honestly, I have to admit that I have actually lived in cities that did not have 19,000 men in it alone, meaning excluding women and children. I have actually lived in cities that did not have 19,000 men all by themselves, right? I lived in cities that didn't have 19,000 people in them, including women and children. So in this case, I think they honestly did all they could do with the information and the scientific investigating tools that were available. Nearly 56 years later, the case is reopened by a cold case team. With modern testing, they were able to actually figure out that there was semen on the elderly lady's clothes, Miss Louisa Doone. There was actually semen on her clothes. I love the fact that, like I said, even if the crime is not solved in 100 years, as long as the information exists, meaning the clothes that they picked up at the crime scene, any type of bodily fluid they were able to locate, they kept those things, even though at the time there was not a whole lot they could do with it. Even with the fingerprinting, they obviously, like we've already said, they tested 19,000 people, no prints match. Mr. Ryland Heatley was tested at the time and had also had his fingerprints taken on several different events because he had committed other crimes. He had raped other women. He was accused of doing other things. And so he had a rap sheet, even though he wasn't always found guilty in every one of these cases. He was found guilty quite often, at least often enough that maybe they should have watched him a little bit more closely. So again, nearly 56 years later, an arrest was made in November 2024. He was officially charged in the Bristol Crown Court in June of 2025. Heatley pled not guilty. The jury did not spend much time deciding the results. I mean, the semen, the fingerprints, the other crimes he had committed that were along the exact same lines. So when we say he committed other crimes that were similar, I mean, he raped other women and was found guilty. He broke into other women's homes and was found guilty. And so this wasn't so far fetched. We didn't need a lot of imagination to persuade us that this man deserved to go to prison for the rest of his natural life. So he was officially convicted of murder on June 30th, 2025. And in July of 2025, Judge Derek Sweetening sentenced him to life in prison with a minimal term of 20 years. The judge tells Mr. Heatley, "You will die in prison." With the utterance of those words, the judge officially made Mr. Heatley the oldest person to ever be convicted of a crime in the UK. And if you're wondering how old he is, when he was convicted of the crime, he was 92 years old and he turned 93 about 1 month after being placed in prison. Just imagine for a second of actually making it to the age of 92 and being sentenced to a life in prison for the rest of your life. A small shared space with unknown individuals that will more than likely care little, if at all, for your comfort, your desires, or even your needs. No autonomy, no love, and no possibility of release. Somehow, it feels especially fitting for this elderly monster that has finally been caught. And the UK is a little safer. This episode was written and directed by me, Alexis Essieman. I am your host, and we are the Global Village.